Let's go to DFL headquarters tonight. We'll have our reporters all around the city tonight in both Republican and DFL headquarters. Let's start with Rob Olson. He is at the DFL tonight. Rob, this is very early in the night. This is where everybody's pretty quiet, not a lot happening, but give us a sense for what's going on there.
Well, that's exactly what's going on. Not a lot happening so far. This officially starting now in the 8 o'clock hour. We've seen more people kind of trickle in, not into the ballroom yet, but there's more people out in the lobby area. But of course, over the next hour or so, you're going to start to see this fill up. And of course, in the next couple hours, it will likely be very, very crowded in here. Now, as you mentioned, 4 years ago, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump by about 7 points in Minnesota in the presidential race. 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton won over Donald Trump by just 1.4%. So it was thought that, knowing that year was a competitive year, it was thought that Minnesota could become another swing state. It's a very much a purple state, a battleground state, but after the election 4 years ago, not seen as much that way anymore. And certainly the polling this year in Minnesota has shown that that trend will kind of continue. The last polling here showed Kamala Harris with about a 5 percentage point advantage over Donald Trump, but that had weakened. In August, it was nearly twice that in the polls. So it certainly tightened up, but still not within a margin of error. And the DFL party here tonight tells me they still very much expect, very optimistic that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will win Minnesota. But again, a wait and see proposition, but that certainly looks more likely than not. Now, the interesting part about this is if that does happen, then Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan becomes governor, and the Senate President, Bobby Joe Champion, becomes lieutenant governor. Now, there is a election tonight for a single seat in the Minnesota State Senate. And so there could be another one here, too, depending on what happens tonight. Certainly, that balance of power equation could continue on, depending on the way that things go for the rest of the evening. But again, we do expect this to start getting much, much busier in here. We do expect that Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Senate President Champion will be here. We do expect Speaker Hortman to be here as well tonight. And certainly Amy Klobuchar is fully expected to come here, where she will address supporters once her race is called. It is possible Angie Craig may come in here as well after she's done with her own event for this election night. So a lot still to come here tonight, and you can kind of feel the energy now starting to kind of bring up just a little bit here as this party gets underway. For now, we're going to head over there to my colleague Courtney Godfrey, who is at the GOP election night headquarters over in Bloomington, where that party sounds like it's getting a little bit louder too. Courtney.
Yeah, good evening, Rob. It's really getting busy here at GOP headquarters in Bloomington, where Republican supporters are feeling enthusiastic as polls closed in Minnesota just minutes ago. The GOP tells me that while political pundits say it would be a long shot for Donald Trump to win this historically blue state, they're still feeling energized as he came close in 2016, and they don't believe that having Governor Walz on the ticket will have any down ballot effects. They're really taking a look at those local elections, especially the legislature. When we're talking about the House and the Senate, the Republicans believe that they have a chance to flip at least one of those. The House tonight, they say they have about half a dozen races across the state that they believe they can flip. They said most of those races were only lost by a few hundred votes, and if they can get independent voters to come out and swing over to the GOP, they believe that they have those races secured and that they can flip the House and have a balance, a mixed balance of power again in the Minnesota legislature. They also have a special election happening out near Lake Minnetonka for a state Senate seat. And while that is a historically blue district, they're feeling confident. They say exit polling is showing some momentum in their favor. However, that will be a really hard race for them to win. Interestingly, they did bring up the early voting. Historically, Republicans have not been big into early voting, but there has been a national push for Republicans to get out there and vote early. They say in the last 2 years, the Minnesota GOP has really put an emphasis on educating people about the opportunity to early vote, and they hope that that will bring more people to the polls and that will help them tonight. Again, the room here tonight filling up. We're seeing a lot of Donald Trump supporters. We have seen a couple of the candidates for U.S. Congress show up, a couple of the local state reps showing up. No big names quite yet, but we know that may change as we go throughout the night, and we'll, of course, keep you posted. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Courtney.